Hello, hello. Um, hey, good morning, welcome. My name's Axel, if you don't already know, forget speaking English. And, it's very early here. We're gonna do this crossword today. We're going to do a crossword. This one here on the screen. So I'm gonna take a couple minutes to explain how this is going to work. If you already know how this works, you are more than welcome to respond to this question and leave it in the chat. So let me know, do you think it's difficult to live a sustainable lifestyle? Why or why not? So feel free to leave your thoughts on that while I explain how this activity works. That's pretty big. Okay, anyways, yeah. So feel free to respond about that. And I'm going to let everybody know how the crossword game works, basically. So what's going to happen is we are going to go through the crossword together. I'm going to lead the conversation. I'm going to say which question we're working on when. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give alternative clues, information, definitions, pictures sometimes, to help you figure out the answer. So, and then when you have the answer, when you think you know an answer, put it in the chat, share it in the chat. We will, discuss anything that comes up, but when I see the answer, I will put it up on the board and we will go through and we will work on the crossword together that way. So you'll be able to participate in the comments. I think I'm live on 3 places right now. I'm hoping I am. So you can participate on Facebook, you can also participate on Twitch, and you can participate on YouTube as well. So feel free to go any of those places. They're listed at the bottom of the screen, and you can participate in this activity today. I do have a couple rules though. So my first rule is no cheating. So we're not going to use the internet. We're only going to use the internet if I tell you to use the internet, but otherwise I think that we are going to be smarter than that. We should be able to figure it out without too much problem. So please don't use the internet. Don't, go out and just Google the answers. There are websites dedicated to having the answers to crosswords. We're not going to use them. Also, please follow the conversation, so don't rush ahead and start throwing out answers to things we haven't talked about. Basically, don't ruin it for people, right? So instead, follow the conversation. We might also take the opportunity to discuss different phrases and vocabulary, things that come up along the way also. So we're going to take our time, explore the vocabulary that comes up, and have a bit of a review. So yeah, so please just follow along. And also, please be nice to one another. So be kind to each other in the chat, right? Be kind to me as well. I know sometimes I make mistakes as well. That happens. I am only human. I often also am, not 100% sure of the answers to these crosswords as well. Like, sometimes that happens. So I also am not using the internet. So please be kind. And then there are also some rules specifically about this crossword that are useful to know. So the first thing probably is that a lot of the clues, a lot of the language, a lot of the questions are about language. So luckily we don't need to know a lot about trivia. So we don't need to know a lot about trivia. So that's really good. I'm not a trivia person. Also, it's worth noting that this is an American crossword, so they're going to use American spelling. So there are some differences between American and British spelling, right? Like words like flavor and color, favor. They are spelled with an OR in American English instead of an OUR. Words like realize, commercialize, socialize, modernize. Those end in an IZE, whereas in British English, it would be ISE. Also, words like center, leader, those are spelled with an ER instead of an RE, so those are worth noting. So American English will be used mostly here. Also, too, usually the answer of the question is the same form of the word used in the question itself. So, for example, if there is a plural noun in the question, the answer will also be a plural noun. So if the verb is conjugated a certain way, the answer will also be conjugated that same way. So that's worth noting. Also, too, it's possible that some of these answers will be short phrases. So they might be phrasal verbs, for example, or like 2 or 3 sentences, like 2 or 3 words out of a larger phrase, common phrase or something like that. So those are possible. And also, too, some of the vocabulary is going to be useless to you, so you're not going to be able to use it in real life. So there are definitely words in the crossword that I don't use as a native English speaker in my day-to-day life, but I only tend to use them on crosswords and other word games. So do keep that in mind. I will try to point out if something is completely useless. Anyways, so feel free to say hello in the chat if you are out there. I am, like I said, I'm on Facebook right now. We're on Twitch. We're on YouTube. And you are more than welcome to say hello in either of those places. I'm gonna double check. Did I have all set up? Yeah, I think so. Alright. You can see that it's a sunny day. There's a lot of light coming in the window today. Good, because it's been terrible. The weather has been terrible here. I'm in Canada, by the way. So, kind of cold. Not too cold in this part of Canada. The winters aren't super terrible. I mean, there's some places in Canada where it gets like -50, -40, -50. It's not that bad here. But it's still getting kind of chilly this time of year. And yesterday was really windy and rainy and snowy and stuff. Okay. So I'm just gonna get to it then. Like I said, feel free to put your ideas, your if you think you know an answer, share it in the chat. And we will go through, we will do this together. All right, so number 1 here we can see is deceive. So deceive, basically kind of like to say to trick or maybe to even lie. So that's a verb, to trick or potentially to lie to someone about something, maybe. So basically you don't tell the truth, essentially. Okay. And then we also have balloon, a balloon fill. So we're essentially looking, we want something that would fill a balloon. So a balloon is a little, I mean, if you don't know what a balloon is, I think we all know what a balloon is, but they are basically these things made out of rubber. There you go. They're typically filled with gas that lets them float, right? So this is a balloon, typical that you would have at a party, right? Here is a hot air balloon, another example of a balloon. This is a hot air balloon. So, and there are specific sort of gases that are used in here. We can see here that we are looking for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, a 6-letter word. Something that would be filled, that would go into the, that would go into a balloon. So, you know, there's air. I think that's obviously one of the first things that comes to mind, right? Right? Or oxygen. So oxygen, right? So that has 6 letters. That has 6 letters. I don't think that's our answer, but that is potentially 6 letters. There is another air that goes into a balloon that is, it's like it's lighter than oxygen, so it causes the balloon to rise in the air. And another really interesting thing too is like if you as a human were to breathe in some of this air, it would cause your voice to rise. So if you were to inhale this gas, your voice would rise. So it would go higher, basically. And an inhale is to breathe in. Breathe in. Yeah. Yeah, so if you were to breathe in, that's what would happen. So, helium is the name of that gas. Helium. Yeah, so helium is the name of that gas. So, yeah, so I think that's gonna be our first one. Also notice here too, because I wrote here breathe in. Notice how that's different from the spelling of breath, right? So the noun. And the pronunciation is a little bit different too, right? So breath as a noun sort of ends in that the unvoiced th consonant, whereas breathe for the verb ends in the voice consonant. So breathe, breath, breathe, breath. Anyways, yeah, so this is helium. I'm gonna put helium in here. And let's look at the next one. Okay, so we have, I don't know what this is. Gold of Israel. Rose. This abbreviation, maybe. Over here. Oh, I think this one should be pretty easy. So to make blank. Make blank. What does it mean if something is blank? Something blank is empty, basically. There's nothing in it. There's nothing in, or I should say there's nothing on it, kind of. Because usually you would talk about maybe like a blank sheet of paper, for example, or a blank, like a blank, gap or something in an activity. You might leave something blank. To leave something, you might leave a line like when you're filling out a form, so you won't fill it in. So it usually has something to do with when we're talking about filling out forms or paper or something like that. Yeah. So there's nothing on it, basically. So when you're filling out a page, for example, or an application or something, right? We would typically do that using writing, right? You would fill out a form, you write to fill out a form, right? Or also too on the computer, right? You might type it in, right? But I think our answer here has more to do with traditional writing, right? So traditional writing with a pen or a paper, sorry, a pen or a pencil, something like that, right? And there's this thing that you would do. There is a verb, basically a verb for removing these like writing marks, basically. So for example, specifically pencil, removing pencil marks. So we have E something 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 something. So if you have an idea what that might be, put it in the chat. Let me know. Again, you can play on Facebook, you can play on Twitch, play on YouTube. All those places. So I think this answer here is going to be erase. Erase. You would erase pencil marks, typically with an eraser, right? You would do it with an eraser, the little rubber thing. So I think that's going to be our answer here. You would make it blank. You would erase it. All right. Let's see this. First, figure out which ones we are going to get. Okay, I think we could do this one maybe. This here, purpose, right? Purpose. Basically, you know, maybe what something is for, right? Like what an object is for, basically, maybe, or the reason for something, right? But here we have like a 3-letter word. And it's probably going to be a noun. I think it's going to be a noun. Yeah, noun, because purpose is a noun as well. Basically looking for a 3-letter word that describes, you know, the reason, like what something is for, or what it does. You know, its reason for existence, maybe. Something like that. Purpose. Basically. So what something is for, what an object is for, maybe like the reason something exists, for example. I think this word is going to be use. Use is purpose. You know, something's use. And notice the pronunciation on this too, right? So this is the noun, right? You notice how I said use? It has like an S sound, right? And so use here, so when it has the verb, sorry, when it's a noun, it has an S sound. Because we also know this word in its verb form, right? But the pronunciation changes. So you use something. It has a Z sound there. So that's kind of very important. So use for a noun here, whereas use for a verb has a Z sound, whereas this has an S sound. But we also have, there's also the past form. We say, you know, I used to do something, Here, used to do, as in you did something in the past, right? Used. You used to. If you used to do something. This also kind of has that pronunciation. I'm trying to just get it. Used to. There we go. So used to also has that S sound. So some kind of important pronunciation details there for you. But yeah. So use as a noun, use as a verb, and use to with an S sound when we're talking about things that maybe we did in the past that we no longer do today. Okay. Here. Long time. Business abbreviation. Gross. I think we might be able to get this one. Or actually, I think we could do this one. So we talked about groves the other day. This word is grove. This is a grove. And we learned the other day that a grove is a group of trees, basically. So a grove is a group of trees. I think I had shared some pictures. Because you could have natural groves in maybe in like the middle, like in a field or something. Struggling to find a good picture. But basically like a little group, a little cluster of trees. I mean, here's kind of here is a grove of one specific kind of tree. They're all sort of grown together, right? But you could also use groves to grow fruit, right? So you would intentionally plant all of these trees sort of side by side, so they're, you know, a lot easier to harvest afterwards, right? So it's easier to pick the fruit, right? So here's sort of a man-made grove. So we want some sort of fruit that comes off of a tree that would be kind of grown in this way. Something. And I think you could actually, I think it might even be like one of these guys. This is citrus, sort of a citrusy fruit. Obviously, there's lots of other things that you can grow, but let me know if you think that you know what this is. If you think you might know, put it in the chat. I'm like looking for some examples of fruit that might grow on groves or in groves. Okay, maybe here we go. All right, so I think this might be, oh, actually, let's look at this picture. Here are some examples of things that might grow in a grove, right? So this first one, it looks like maybe they're like an orange or tangerine, right? Tangerines. We have some apples, so you could have an apple grove. It looks like there's a grapefruit. Also pears, right? Pears. Like a pear grove. So, but I think this word is gonna be orange. I think orange fits here. So let's put that in here. Here we go. We got some oranges. Perfect. So, fruit groves. Let me know if there are, if it's common to, or if they grow fruit in your region. So let me know if they grow fruit in your region. Do they grow anything in groves? And what do they grow? So here it is common for people to have apple groves. So they grow apples in little groves. So let me know if it is, if they if in your country what they grow, what kind of things do they grow on groves, in groves, in your region. All right, so let's see, rubber source. I think we could do this one. So this BUSABBR. BUSABBR. So we have two abbreviations, right? Basically. Well, ABBR is short for abbreviation. So we're looking for this BUS. This is short for business. So we basically are looking for this word here, this IN something is basically a common business abbreviation. So, and I know there's a couple of them out there. I like to think that theirs was pretty obvious. There's like, you know, LTD, for example, that's limited. Think of some like common ones. Pretty tired this morning. I think this was going to be ink, which is short for incorporated, by the way. INC. So short for incorporated. So incorporated. I think if there was other ones. The names of businesses. Struggling. Anyways, yeah, but so I think this was going to be incorporated, limited. If you could think of some other ones too, let me know. Like probably like association and things like that. Org, ORG, right? Organization. NGO, non-governmental organization, basically a non-for-profit. Anyways, yeah. Good ones. Alright. Put that up here. See what this is. What this is, but not sure. I guess we can get this one. So a rubber source. So a rubber is, you know, comes from trees or something like that, basically. It's kind of like this rubbery hard, like really hard, but you know, you use it for tires and things like that, right? And this is kind of a type of rubber. It's a type of rubber that all like commonly gets used for. I'm gonna say that it gets used in like certain articles of clothing and things like that. It's very shiny. Very shiny. Very shiny. Actually, you know what it commonly gets used for? Like these gloves. These disposable gloves here are made out of this material. Yeah, so if you know what this material is, you know, put it in the chat. No. And then it also gets used for making clothing too, right? I'm trying to get a picture that's not like here, for example, this person, this skirt is also made out of the same material. Anyways, this material is latex. Latex is a rubber, sort of a rubber source. I think it has some trees. Is that correct? I think I'm wrong. I might be wrong. But I'm pretty sure rubber from trees, right? Okay, and I think we might be able to get this one. So, long-time battlers. So we know that there's an S in here. A battler. We can see the root word battle in here. We can see the word battle in here, which basically means to fight, right? So you battle against someone, you fight against one another. And there is this phrase, kind of. There is a phrase that I think this answer comes from. We would say the battle of the something. So battle of the whatever this is. And this is a battle of gender, basically. Gender. So basically gender being, you know, male or female, right? Hey, Ak. Hey, welcome. How are you doing? I'm good, thanks. I'm tired this morning, but I'm good. How are you doing? So we're basically looking for a word that refers to genders, right? A battle of the genders, right? Basically another word for gender. So gender being, you know, male or female. So this phrase here is typically, it's going to be the battle of the sexes. So, battle of the sexes. So, is this? Here we go. Longtime battlers. Here we go. Battle of the sexes. Yeah, so I think that's what that's gonna be. See what else. I think we should be able to get this one. This brief time. So brief. It's a very, very, very short. So brief, something very brief is very short. Starts with an S, you can see here, right? So we're basically looking for, I think like the short form of a longer word here. And a word that's related to time, right? So for example, a min would be short for minute, right? Or HR could be short for an hour. Any ideas what this word might be? You want to give it a go? Don't be shy. Wait, I mean, these are, so an hour is a long, pretty long. Minute's pretty short, potentially. We could do like YR for year. That is also a an abbreviation. But I think this one is like for a segment of time even shorter than a minute. So very short moment of time. I think this is going to be a sec, S-E-C, which is short for second, right? So give me a sec and I'll be ready to talk to you, or I just need a sec to finish whatever I'm doing. So I just need a second to finish what I'm doing. Need a second before I call you. Yeah, so we'll say sec sort of informally to refer to time sometimes. All right, let's see what else we can do here. I think we might be able to do this. This word that means for each. For each. Oh, it's really early here. That's why. It's very early here. So that's why I'm tired. Actually, it's not too early anymore. I'm slowly waking up. But I'm not a morning person. So. But it's 9 a.m. here. So for each, maybe for each person, maybe something like that. There is a little word that we might use. And I'm gonna put it into a couple of sentences and see if we can get it. So something. A second here. Yeah, I'm gonna put it in a, like, basically I'll do a little gap fill here. For example, the meal will cost $20 something person, for example. Or the car was traveling here we go. The car was traveling at 70 miles something hour. So for each hour or for each person. So this is going to go in here. Here's another example too. Because sometimes we'll use it to figure out how many things are in an area. Another one. So there are more cafes something square mile here than anywhere else in the country. So there are more cafes in each square mile than any other place in the country. So I think this is going to be per. So per. The meal will cost $20 per person. The car was traveling at 70 miles per hour. There are more cafes per square mile here than anywhere else in the country. So in each of these things, basically. So I think per is going to be our answer here. All right, and here, swift. So swift is what? Swift is an adjective, right? So we have an adjective. We have an adjective starting with R. Something. And something swift moves very quickly. So we're basically looking for a synonym that means that. So a synonym for quickly, or quick rather. So swift, be even like fast, for example. Another example, fast, hastily, maybe hastily, swift, speedy, maybe, quickly. Yeah, we have quickly, quick. Quick. I think this word is going to be rapid. Rapid. So we have rapid here. A-P-I-D, rapid. Okay, all right, yeah. So that makes sense. Great. What else? Finish. This dull finish. So dull finish. Okay, so something. So a dull. So dull. Actually, let's talk about what a finish is first. This is kind of like a reference to paint or something, or like what a surface would look like, basically. Basically, the surface. So this refers to what the surface of something looks like. So, for example, you know, we looked at this this latex, right? This finish, the finish of this material, it's very shiny. I would describe it as being very shiny, right? So I'll put that in here again. So, right, so this has a shiny finish, right? Okay. Whereas these, right, in comparison, these are dull. I would refer to these as having a dull finish. So something dull is not, at least when we're talking about paint finish or a wall finish or what something looks like, it doesn't reflect the light very well. So that's kind of what dull means. Yeah, so paint will have different sort of finishes. Paint will have a couple different finishes. I'm just trying to get some picture. I don't know if I can. All right, maybe. Let's see here. We can kind of see this picture here. I don't know, like, if you're gonna see it, be able to see it that well. Maybe. Actually, I guess I could do this. Kind of see it here. This picture here. So we have. So we can see here that this one has a glossy finish, right? Glossy, where there's kind of the light reflects it, so it's a little bit shiny, right? A little bit shiny, and then we have the semi-gloss, so not quite as shiny. So the finish is a little bit less translucent, I guess, or it doesn't reflect as well. We have some satin here. All of these different sort of examples. We have eggshell, so the finish is similar to the finish of an eggshell, okay? And then we have this here. We have this matte here. And matte is kind of, it's like the dullest. It doesn't reflect much light at all, right? So you look at it, it's the color is very uniform. It doesn't reflect any light at all. Whereas gloss, we can see there's a bit of a shine on it. Something matte, something dull, has no shine on it whatsoever. So let's maybe look. So we have glossy, semi-gloss, satin, eggshell, we have matte. So let's go back to our crossword then. Let's go back to the dull one, whichever the dull one might be. So we know that glossy is kind of a little bit reflects the light, right? So probably not going to be glossy. Eggshell doesn't reflect a lot of light. It's pretty dull, right? But we can see that it's too long, right? So I think our options are really kind of satin or matte. But if something is really dull, it really doesn't reflect much light at all. So I think matte is going to be our answer here. So I'm going to put it here. Matte. A matte finish is going to be a dull finish. Let's put that in here. And then see what else we can do. I think we can do this one. So we have made mistakes. Made mistakes. And we can see that this is the past form of this verb, right? So we know that this is going to be the past form of a verb. So in fact, I might just gonna put it here, I think. This ed here. So put it in the past, right? And we basically just want a verb. That means a verb. That means to make mistakes, right? So to make mistakes. And this one comes up a lot. So if you've been here, if you've been watching these, I think this is like the third or fourth time now that we've talked about this one. But to make mistakes, to make an error, right? Yeah, if you know what it is, like I said, we've done this one before. Something something. This time it's going to be in the past form, so we can see that it's a regular verb. So if you remember what this one is, put it in the chat. This is not a very common verb. We'll use it in a couple collocations, a couple phrases. But we don't typically use this verb very often. It's a lot more common to say that, oh, I made a mistake, or oh, I screwed up. Oh, I missed that, or oh, I messed up. This is gonna be err, so erred. And we can see this root word in the word error, right? So there you go. All right, so we got that. Let's see what else here. What's abundant? I think that. maybe do this one. So insurance category, an insurance category. So insurance is basically when you pay money to a company, right? And then whenever something, they collect the money, and then if something happens, like maybe there's some sort of a accident or something like that, the company will use that money to pay your expenses, basically. Kind of, right? And there's a couple different types of insurance, right? You know, there's life insurance, right? In case somebody dies. You can also get like auto insurance, right? So that's for your car or your truck or whatever, basically, so you can drive around and you're covered in case of an accident, right? There's like home insurance, right? So on your home or your apartment or whatever like that, right? You can even get pet insurance, right? So if you have a pet, you can cover their vet bills and things like that, right? So that is a possibility. And we can see here that this one starts with an M. So M, something, 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 something. C-A something. There you go. So kind of another type of insurance here. You know, there's health insurance as well. So whatever kind of insurance this might be. A category. Category of insurance. Fire insurance, that'd be another one, maybe. Disaster insurance. Yeah, all sorts of different things. So you think you know? Put in the chat where this one might be. This one would be used to pay bills at a hospital. I will give that clue. So this one is used to cover expenses at a hospital or maybe at the doctor, for example. Potentially. So I think this one is going to be medical insurance. So medical insurance. Medical insurance. All right, perfect. All right. And then we have waiting. There's kind of a sort of a, this is an idiom, kind of, let's say, that we would use to say that people are fighting. So, an idiom we'd use to say that people are fighting. And this is two words. Something, something, new word, something, something. This may or may not be obvious. I'm gonna try to put it in a sentence, maybe. I might say something like this. It looks like they're this again. So it looks like they're fighting again. Or it looks like they're something something again. Yeah, this is kind of like the whole idiom, like sort of the whole idiom. Yeah. So potentially for fighting, we could also use it to this phrase "to" to refer to sort of annoying or negative things that are happening as well. Yeah. Like you're doing something that the again part, it's like they've already done this annoying, this bad thing previously, and now they're doing it again. But this idiom though, so for people who are fighting, we would say that they're at it. It looks like they're at it. It looks like they're at it. Yeah, so let's put that in here. At it. And a couple of other examples of how we would use this. So here, for example, it looks like they're what I want. Oh yeah, this is. Yeah, so 5 minutes after they stopped arguing, they're at it again. So they're doing it again, right? Or here's another example here too. So the government is at it again, blaming the public for its own mistakes. So they're doing that thing again. Very frustrating. And here's another one here too. So he rescued the team last night, and now he's at it again. So he's doing it again. Yeah. So we'll say that they're at it if they're fighting. That's very common. A common thing that we'd say. All right. So I wonder if we're gonna get this one. This old anesthetic. Anesthetic. An anesthetic. An anesthetic is something. It's like a medicine. It's a medicinal term. Sorry, a medical term. And an anesthetic is something that the doctor that they'll basically put on you or put in you that prevents you from feeling pain. So a substance that prevents you from feeling pain. All right, so you might do an operation under aesthetic or anesthetic. And there's kind of two types. There's like local anesthetic, where it just numbs part of your body, basically. So it just numbs part of your body. Or there's general anesthetic. So where they put you under completely. They make you unconscious. So you do not feel pain. Yeah, so this one under local anesthetic, you would be awake for this as well. So it numbs part of your body and you stay awake for the procedure. But if you have general anesthetic, you are out completely. You don't remember anything. You don't feel anything. So this is an old anesthetic. This is an old, I think it's a gas. This is a gas that they would use back in previous times. Gas that we would use for this. So E-T something something R. So if you think you know what this is, put it in the chat. Oh, okay. So it's a clear liquid, but and they would pour it on a rag or something, and they would make the person inhale it. I think that's what would happen, and it would cause people to go asleep. It would cause them to pass out, and then they would do the procedure. Yeah. So if you think you know what this is, put it in. Yeah. So this is ether. Ether is that substance that they would use. So we have ether. Here we go. Here's our definition. So a clear liquid used, especially in the past, as an anesthetic to make people sleep before a medical operation. Yeah. So, yeah. Of course, I think they use different stuff now. Here's an example. So, police said they drugged her with ether and handcuffed her to the wall. So, yeah. So that's kind of interesting. Okay. Anyways. What else do we do here? I don't think we're gonna get this. What is this? Insulting a snarky way. This is a kind of a advanced word. So a perfect example. The pronunciation of this word is interesting. Talk about it in a second. We'll talk about how to use it. But yeah, so a word for a perfect example. A-P-I-T. Something, something, something. A perfect example. So basically an ideal example, like the highest quality, the best. Something. And there's kind of a specific phrase that we would use this word. Kind of a specific way that we would use it. I'm gonna put it into a gap again, like a gap fill, maybe. Maybe we can get it. So here, for example, here is a example of where we would use this word. So he was the something of the fashionable gentleman. So he was a perfect example of a fashionable gentleman. So yeah, we usually say something is the whatever this word is of something else. So here's maybe another example of this word. So even now in her 60s, she was the something of French elegance. So this word here as well. So if you think you know what this is, put it in the chat. I'm trying to look for a couple other examples. Yeah, because we always kind of use it sort of in this phrase. You say so something is the whatever of this thing. Anyways. So this word, yeah, I'm struggling to find one. So this word is this, which looks like it's pronounced epitome, maybe? Epitome? But it is not pronounced that way. This word is actually epitome. Epitome. So, yeah, so he was the epitome of the fashionable gentleman. Or even now in her 60s, she is the epitome of French elegance. So, super tricky word. This is this word is pretty common, but the pronunciation is definitely interesting. So you have to remember this pronunciation because it's completely different. So yeah, so it's not epitome, but epitome. Epitome. So something is the epitome of something, you would say. So it's a perfect example of something. So something that is the epitome of something is a perfect example of that thing. And we would typically phrase it like something is the epitome. So that's kind of how we would phrase it. All right. Just a second here. All right. So some interesting words in here. What this is, but I don't. Oh, maybe. Here. We did this little pie. I just gave away the answer. Let's do this one. This quiche. Quiche start. What is a quiche? A quiche is a dish. Quiche is a type of food. Typically I guess you can have it for dinner. Kind of like a tart, kind of, almost, sort of. I'm gonna get a picture. Yeah, you can kind of see here. We have this, so it has a crust like a pie, and then it has like this filling of, they're primarily made with whatever this yellow sort of substance is, and then they'll have like vegetables and fruit and things like, not fruit, but vegetables and meat and things in there. It's typically a savory dish. A quiche is a savory dish. So it's not sweet, it's not like a pie, it's not like a tart, for example. Or it's not like a dessert pie. And you would typically eat it for, I guess you'd eat it for dinner and things like that. Yeah. Anyways, this, there is a base, a food, basically, and an ingredient that goes in all quiches. One ingredient in particular that is found in all quiches. You need a lot of them. I'm not a big fan of quiche, but every now and then I will make them. And I'm always amazed at how many of these things I need to make my quiche. Anyways, here's another picture. If you can see, notice the common ingredient, maybe. Both of these have, I mean, they both have a crust, right? But they have this yellow substance. The yellow inside is egg. So egg. So we're gonna put eggs in here. Eggs are the quiche start. And I know I gave it away a little bit here, but this chart. So a couple different types of charts. See if I can't get some examples. Basically, another way to say a graph, right? But here we go. We can see a couple different. So a chart is basically a graph. You can see these different types of charts here. And we can see this very first one, right? This first one, the circle with the different segments. The different segments is called a pie chart. So I'm gonna put it in here. So yeah, a pie chart has segments, those individual pieces that it's divided into. Yeah. All right. What else could we do here? So this is a person or something. Whipped nymph chasers. Salt wars. Derby or boater. I may be able to get this. This is a thing that you wear. I'm gonna show. It's a thing that you wear. 3-letter word. Something you wear. Something a person wears. You know, maybe you don't wear one in particular, but here, for example, this is a very fancy hat, fancy thing, actually. I didn't know. So this is a derby. I didn't know they were so fancy. Here's another example of a derby. So we have a couple derbies, and then let's see what the other one looks like, because I don't even know. Okay, and then this is a boater, apparently. Anyways, all of these things are a type of something. What do these things have in common? What are they? They're all hats, right? So a derby or a boater is a type of hat. Put a hat in here. Alright. So put that in here. And I think we can potentially get this one. So a lot of salt comes from mines, right? Like, they'll mine it into the ground, out of the ground and things like that, right? But there are other sources of salt, right? Other places that we can find salts naturally in the environment, right? So this is a place we can find salt naturally in the environment. Right? I mean, you can find salt in the body. We all have salt. We have to have salt in order to survive, right? You can get it in mines, like I said, right? But it's also prevalent in a type of water, right? You know how we'll have salt water versus fresh water, right? So fresh water, that would be in lakes, right? Lakes, streams, ponds, for example. And then you have salt water that is typically located in what? Where will we find salt water? There's sort of like basically two bodies. I mean, I guess you could think of other things as well, but you know, salt water is in an ocean, right? So there are oceans, right? These really large bodies of salt water, right? That go across the world. And then you can also find them in seas, right? So you can find them in oceans or find them in seas. So I think this word is going to be sea. Our salt source is going to be a sea. So let's put that in here. This salting in a marking way. So you remember how at the beginning of this, when I was explaining how the question will give us a clue about the type of word and the answer. So we can see here insulting in a snarky way. So we have an ing form of a verb here. I think that this here, this is going to be ing. So I'm just going to put it in here, this ing. And we'll go back to it maybe. Ooh, I think we can get this one actually. Join together. This here, this something D. Join together. I think that they are talking about when two people join together. Right? So maybe like when two partners, or you know, man, woman, or you know, two lovers, basically, they decide that they are going to join together for life, basically, right? And then they have that ritual, there's a ceremony, right? And they would basically get married, right? Right? So they decide to get married. And we kind of have a verb for that. We have a verb that we would use. Basically, that means to get married. So we're looking for a verb that means to get married, basically. So if you think you know, put it all in the chat. So again, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitch, and I'm on YouTube. Right there. So it's very quiet this morning. So, and good opportunity to play. It's a good opportunity to play, good opportunity to ask questions as well. You are more than welcome to ask all of questions about any of these questions or things that come up. I'm happy to attempt to answer your questions. I don't know everything ever, but I try to give reasonable answers, especially about language and about words. So I think this here, this, you know, just, you know, getting married, right? Joining together here. I think this is going to be wed. So wed, to wed would be the verb. So we could use that as a verb, to wed. And we can see this word, this root word in the name of that ceremony, right? A wedding. Right? So a wedding is the ceremony. Right? So we have the wedding, the ceremony. And then after that, we would say you would be married. So after the wedding, you become married. So, yeah. All right, so let's put that here. More dreadful. More dreadful. We could see, so this more, right? We could see that this is a comparative, like a comparative adjective. Something is more whatever than something else, right? So more dreadful. So this is a comparative adjective. Basically, something is more something than something else. And I'm just stressing the than here because sometimes I hear people say that. That is a different type of that is a different word. So we want than. Than is the correct word here. So something is more whatever than something else. And we know with short comparative adjectives, we typically add er to something. So for example, something is, you know, bigger than something else, or maybe something is, I don't know, nicer than something else, right? So we typically add an er when the initial adjective is one syllable or two syllables. I know there's some exceptions, but usually that's the rule, right? So let's put an er, just put an e here, since we can figure that out. Okay. And we can see here, so this answer was abundant. We might say that something teams with something. It has a lot of something. If something basically teams with something, it has a lot of it. So for example, the pond was teeming with fish. It had a lot of fish. So that's basically what this answer is. And this is typically how I would use it. Something is teeming with something. I would use it in that, like that progressive form. It's it's more uncommon to use it in this passive form with a past participle. Or a teamed, well, I guess, yeah, something teamed with life, maybe. Yeah. Anyways, that's the answer to that one. Anyways, okay. So let's see here. More people. Equipped. Posters. Posters. So a coaster can be a couple different things. A coaster. What? A coaster can be, well, there's like a roller coaster, right? So basically the amusement park ride, right? So we have here a roller coaster, amusement park ride, basically. You could also, a coaster could also be the thing that you put underneath a drink to prevent the table from getting wet from condensation. Oops. Oh, what did I do? Everything, right? Yes. Okay. So here's another example of here's a drink coaster. It prevents the table from getting wet from condensation. Condensation is the wetness that happens when something cools off. It creates the wet, like the wetness on the outside. So that's condensation. So it prevents the table from getting wet from condensation, right? So you don't ruin your table, basically. Doesn't leave marks. So that is a coaster. But to coast can also mean something else. It kind of means to move effortlessly along a surface. Here. So for example, to move down a hill or a slope without making any effort, right? So I think this is what our question is about. So we're looking for basically a noun. We're gonna put an S on it since it's plural, but it's basically something that you would use to move effortlessly down a hill. So something you'd use to move effortlessly down a hill. And I'm gonna give you an additional clue. This is something that kids would use in winter. So something kids would use in winter. I'm gonna get like right here. Here we go. So we can see like this kid here, right? And their mom, right? They have like this thing and they're using it to coast down the hill, right? So I think we want the name for whatever this thing is. A sled, yes. Welcome. Yeah, so sled is gonna be some coasters. So we have a sled. Perfect. How are you doing today? So we have a sled. What else can we do here? Costs. Do here. Actually, let's see if we can get this one. See, this is a pretty common saying. It's a kind of a slang saying, sort of, but insulting in a snarky way. So basically, if you insult someone, you basically say something that offends them. So maybe something that's negative that upsets them. All right, so maybe you say something bad about them. Life is tough. Yeah, life is tough. So yeah, so I hope it gets a little bit better. A little bit better for you. Yeah, it's been kind of a crazy period right now. Yeah, so if you insult something, you say something that offends them. And something snarky, that's kind of a sort of a more advanced word, but if something is snarky, you kind of like, you're trying intentionally to hurt their feelings, And maybe you're criticizing them. Like you intentionally want to upset them. So maybe you're talking kind of in a rude way or something like that. So something that's kind of snarky is intentionally offensive, really rude. So this word, this idiom, something, ing. We have our two words here. SH, something. Yeah, we would say to whatever something at someone, basically. Yeah, so this idiom. This is a common idiom. Common enough. But yeah, basically another way to say that you are intentionally kind of insulting somebody, criticizing them. You do it to show that you don't respect them, for example. So this is a tricky one. It might be a tricky one. We might be able to guess what the first verb is. Maybe. I mean, we have this verb here, and then what was this? This was more dreadful. So something dreadful, something really bad. This is a word that has to do with something being really bad, really terrible situation. Maybe a critical situation. So we can see that they have a kind of a common, the name is kind of people. Throw shade, yeah, exactly. Yeah, you throw shade at somebody. Exactly. So this is gonna be throwing shade. Yeah, so awesome. Yeah, so if you throw shade at somebody, you basically say maybe snide remarks or things like that to basically criticize them. Maybe even publicly too, so here's the official definition. So to criticize someone for something publicly to show that you do not respect them. So here's an example with this idiom. So this isn't the first time that the actress has thrown shade at her ex-husband. So basically she talked negatively about him in public. And did that. So that's how we might use it. And here's another example too. So she can throw shade like no other. So she can basically trash talk people. Trash talk. There's another one too. Talk badly about someone. So she can throw shade like no other and has feuded some of the biggest names in the entertainment industry. So she's feuded with, she's fought with. To fight. Yeah, fight with someone. So that's basically how we might use that. Yeah. So great job. That's a good, kind of a good phrase. I wonder if we can get this one. Maybe. We might be able to get this one, actually. Possibly. This church leader. So we're kind of looking for the name of a person. We can see here, something, D, something. Basically, the name of a person who is highly respected, maybe. A leader, for example. Maybe somebody that you would go to advice because you would go to for advice because they're very wise, right? And maybe they are very wise because they have lived a very long life. Let's say that. So in churches, for example, or even in some communities and things like that, right? There are some people that you might look up to, respect, right? Go to them for guidance, for advice. I think that's what this word is going to be. So I think this word is going to be elder. Elder. So an elder typically is somebody that you might go to for advice, because they're kind of older and things like that. So yeah, so we might say that. What else here? Gonna be the spell. Right, I'm just gonna another section. Fielders, press, beep. Okay, we might be able to do this one. This kitchenware. We're looking for something that you would wear in a kitchen. It's kind of this article of clothing that you might put over top of your regular clothes to prevent you from, you know, getting stains and things like that. So this article of clothing is worn over your regular clothes to prevent you from getting stained or splashed with food. Does church leader call this? So confusing definitions. Yeah. Potentially, yeah. It would be maybe somebody in a church. You know, somebody who's older, right? Somebody he would turn to for advice. Kind of like sort of the older, maybe not just in a church, but just in a community or something, or maybe in a temple or a tribe, for example. Something like that. I know in certain cultures, you know, elders are kind of, you know, they're held in very high regard. They have a respective, or they're very respected, basically. Officially, we could say, so an official of a religious group. So not just churches, but in a variety of different religions and stuff like that. Those leaders are typically known as elders. Or could be known as elders. Yeah. But, you know, in certain villages, though, you know, they would also have elders, right? They consulted the village elders, so the people who are sort of older than everybody else, right? But here we go. So one of the church elders visited her in the hospital. So just like one of the older people in the church. Oh, that's how that might get used. Yeah, so this article of clothing. I'm gonna share a picture. See what we might know what it is. What are these things? You see this guy has this thing that is put over top of his clothes. Yeah, that's gonna be apron. Exactly. So we have an apron. Where did it go? Over here. Apron. Alright, so we have our apron. Let's see. Okay. Ugh. Mean-spirited. So here's an adjective, right? An adjective. Basically for describing somebody who's mean. Right? So somebody who's mean, if you're mean, you're not nice to other people, right? We can see that it starts here with an N here. An adjective used to describe somebody who is mean. Gotta look at some synonyms. Mean as in, like, yeah, you're not a nice person, basically. Maybe, like, you're cruel, right? Maybe something hateful. Potentially hateful. Evil. Yeah, evil. Evils are good. Evil. Or malicious. Yeah, that's a great word. Exactly. Yeah, you intentionally do bad things to other people. Yeah, I think this one's gonna be nasty. Exactly. Nasty. You'd be nasty. Alright, yeah, so we're gonna be mean to somebody. You're pretty nasty. We might say that somebody has a nasty attitude or something like that. Or he spoke to me. You were very nasty on the phone. How you spoke to them kind of in a bad way. Alright. Let's see. Do you know what this one is? The singer Grande. She's a very popular pop singer. At least in, I guess, the US, Europe. I guess all around the world. I have no idea. If you happen to know who the singer is, the singer Grande, put it in. That'll make our lives a lot easier. Because I think some of these are pretty... Like the singer Bonnie. I don't know. Back up. Yeah, I guess we'll gotta, like, maybe do this one. Oh, maybe do this one. Okay, so operated. So we can see that we need the past form of a verb, operated. So we want a past form of a verb. I'm not sure if it's going to be like the past or the past participle. We'll see. And we might say that you operate a vehicle, right? As in you make the vehicle or you make the machine function, basically. So to operate a vehicle basically means that you make it function. Yeah, that was Ariana. Yeah, so let's put it in here. That'll make our lives a lot easier. Even though I know we don't really do trivia, but there's not a lot of this quadrant is all trivia, so okay. So yeah, so operated. So basically we're looking for another verb that means to operate a vehicle or to make a vehicle function. We can see that there is a 3-letter word, basically. Yeah, so 3-letter word we may use. We would use it to operate a vehicle or operate a machine, for example. No, you wouldn't operate. But you would operate a machine, operate a vehicle. Start, halt. Yeah. All right, yeah, so yeah, start it. So that would be like to begin it for sure. Yeah, or halt to stop it, basically. I think in general, though, we can say that you would run a vehicle or you would run a machine. More specifically, yeah, you would run a machine, right? So I think this is going to be... So I think this is going to be like run or ran. So let's put ran in here. And now we might be able to get this one here. Oh yeah. Run, ran, and then run. Yeah, so to arrest somebody. Basically, the police would arrest a criminal, right? So police arrest criminals, basically, right? They get the criminals. So there's kind of this informal word that we might use, which is the answer here. Something. This means to informally, this means formally to arrest or apprehend criminals, basically. Another word that we would use for that, you would apprehend something. Around this, like, start functioning, or is it just going? Yeah, if you run, it just keeps going, basically. Yeah, so. Yeah, so not just, like, when it starts, but the whole thing. So. Basically, yeah, if something runs, it basically runs through its process, basically. You know, it goes through the entire process, basically. Like, on your computer, you might run an antivirus program, and it would do all the checks and everything like that. So, like, that whole thing, we would say that, you know, it's run, or it's running. My program is running right now. The machine is running. So there, it's kind of in its active form. I mean that it's going, that it's happening, doing the thing that it's supposed to do. So... Word. Basically, crab or something. See, this word is going to be nab. They would get the criminals. They would nab a criminal. Yeah, you can run a car. Yeah, as in, you would make the motor run. Yeah. But, you know, you could take it at the mechanic, for example, and they'll be like, you know, run the car for a second. They mean turn it on and make it happen. Or you would run the motor. So that's what that would... That's how we might say that. Yeah. Basically, you would, like, run a motor. That's how I might say that. Yeah, just run it for a second, see if it works. Alright, yeah, so I think this is gonna be nab. I'm gonna put nab in here. We're gonna get our criminals, nab them. Yeah, this is pretty... Yeah, a bunch of these are tricky. I'm gonna put this sometimes there's patterns. Sometimes there are patterns in the crossword. Yeah, nab is a little bit slang. Yeah, it's more informal. It's basically another way to say arrest. It's more like they find the person and they get them. So, yeah, that's kind of how we would say that. Yeah, to take something suddenly, or to catch or arrest a criminal. So here we go. So undercover police officers nabbed the men at the airport. So they found them and they quickly got them. They basically quickly arrested them. That's what that would be. Yeah, so I was to say, sometimes in this crossword there are patterns. Like there's I think these two are sort of follow a similar patterns. We had here this throwing shade with this ing form. I think this one is also going to have an ing in it. So I'm going to put an ing here. So I don't know what this might be though. Fielder's activity. So it's like something he does something in a field. Maybe. I think this is gonna be like, ugh. I mean, it's gross. Alright. Gosh. I think we could get this one, maybe. This owl's question. Do you know what sound an owl makes? You know, so like, you know, what sound does an owl make? You know, so birds chirp, right? You might say cats meow, right? Dogs bark, right? There's a sound that owls make. Do you know what we call it? What we say? And it's not exactly the answer to this question, but kind of gives us like maybe a little bit of a clue. Or at least it's kind of nice to review vocabulary. So owls. It starts with an H. Whatever it's gonna be. And it's actually four letters here. So we might say that owls hoot. Owls hoot. And so when they're hooting, it kind of sounds like they're saying a question word. So when owls when owls are hooting, it sounds like they are saying a question word. So one of the question words, you know, like where, when, why, that sort of thing. So they have a question that they say when they are hooting. Question word that kind of sounds like hoot, or the sound that they would make. So we might say that they ask who. They're like who. Yeah. Why? Yeah. Yeah, why is another question word? But yeah, who. I think who. Maybe there's also a question here. Maybe there's also a reference here too to a story that they tell kids. I don't remember. Yeah, I think some of these are gonna be tricky. I'm just gonna put this one in here. This hand cost. So this is a reference to playing card games. Yeah, why is it who? I think because it sounds like when they're hooting, it kind of sounds like they're saying who. Kind of. Bubbles and who. Yeah, why do... Yeah, because it kind of sounds like they say who. So I think that's why. Yeah, so we say that they're hooting, but it sounds like they're saying who. Yeah, it's very similar, right? Yeah. Yeah, so that's what it is. Yeah. So this is a reference to playing cards. It's a reference to gambling. So basically where you bet money, maybe? And you can win money. So you basically place a bet, you make a wager, you think that you have a good hand of cards. We say that you have a hand of cards. You're dealt a hand of cards. Okay, so your hand is like what you get. And then you think that, oh, I have a good hand, so you'll maybe bet a bunch of money. And then at the end, if you win, you get that pot of money. We call it the pot. The money you win is called the pot. And there is a word that we use for your initial bet. So that first bet that you make, basically, or I guess all of them. I don't really gamble, but there is a word we use for that bet when you're betting. So this word is an ante. So an ante. Yeah. So that's gonna be that. There is an idiom, though, that this word is used in. So we might say to up the ante. So, and basically what that means is, you know, maybe you're negotiating and you will increase your demands and things like that, or maybe it becomes a bit more riskier or something like that. But you do it because you're hoping that you'll get better results and things like that. But this hand cost, that initial bet, is called an ante. So I'm gonna put it there. And I think that we can get this one now here. So mournful, if you're mournful. So to mourn is basically to kind of maybe cry, especially if something goes bad and you're really missing someone or somebody dies, right? So that's kind of what it means. Do you feel that this is why are they getting on your nerves? I know sometimes the questions are a bit tricky. Yeah. Sometimes they're tricky. Yeah, so if we're gonna mourn, we're gonna be really sad, we're gonna cry. And because you're crying, you may be like an adjective. This adjective describes maybe someone who has been crying, or somebody who is crying, for example. And I'm gonna put, so it's gonna end in a Y here. I'm gonna put that here. But maybe we can guess what this might be. I like that I'm learning new words that I do not know. Yeah, there's a lot of new ones in here too. I know that this crossword seems to get more difficult as the week goes on. Yeah, so this is gonna be teary. I think as well. There we go. Yeah, so that's gonna be teary. You would be teary, or you'd be teary-eyed, we might say, as well. like that, I think. Yeah, teary-eyed. So you've been crying. You can see the tears. We might say that. Yeah, so these crosswords seem to get more challenging as the week goes on too. Which I've noticed, but I don't do crosswords on Mondays or Tuesdays. So okay. As excessively. This is an S, because we have an S here. Oh, okay. I think I know what this is. So P-I something something S-O-N. So here, yes. Yeah, we can say that somebody looks teary. Yeah, you look very teary. I would be more likely to say somebody is teary-eyed. That's just me, but yeah, we can also just say teary. Get a couple example sentences, maybe, possibly. Yeah. Here we go. So the actress was pictured looking teary on the movie set, so it looked like she had been crying. Oh, we could also use it, yeah, we could also use it too to describe maybe something that makes you cry. So it was a happy ending to a teary movie or maybe a teary book, something that makes you cry. So that could be something. Yeah. Yeah, so this adds excessively. So something excessive, that's a lot, right? Maybe too much, right? So basically, so yeah, so let's maybe just do this. Basically, to add an excessive amount of something. You know, you might do this. So you might do this if you are eating, for example. You might put a lot of food on your plate, right? An excessive amount of food, right? And then it starts to sort of like, the mound of food gets bigger and bigger. So we might use it that way. We might also use this word to talk about work or something. We kind of use it to, like, if something grows really quickly, like it increases pretty quickly. Yeah, there's a couple sort of collocations we might use this in. Yeah, so this is gonna be pile on. Yeah, you pile on something. So this you piles on. So in a couple example sentences here. So and typically too, it's excessive and it happens really quickly. So you know, after she had the heart attack, she piled on pounds. You would pile on weight, or sorry, the pounds piled on. So her weight increased really quickly. You would pile on pounds. Also, maybe too, you know, pressure might pile on. So the pressure piled on throughout the day with calls from senior figures across the party for her to resign. So a lot of people were calling. A lot of important people in the organization were calling, telling her to resign. Yeah. I would use this often, you know, for you pile food on a plate as well. So you would like kind of create this mound of food. Or you pile on weight. That's very common collocation. And I don't know about the rest of these, if we're gonna be able to get these. I kind of know what these are, but how to use in the eating case. So, you know, I would say maybe like, you know, the boy piled food on his plate at the buffet. Maybe something like that, right? Like he was just like putting tons of food on his plate. That makes sense. So maybe we could say something like that. Yeah, I don't think they were gonna get the rest of these. Just to see here. I wonder if this is like hocus pocus. Like magic. Hocus pocus. Yeah, hocus pocus. Kind of refers to magician acts or something like that. Basically magic tricks. Or something like that. Because you would kind of like hide what's happening, right? And then you would do sort of magic, right? So you would do that to deceive people. I'm gonna put that here. Focus. And then, so this pound sound, this pound. A pound is a place that you take animals. So usually dogs or cats. That don't have a home. So maybe they're found on the street and then they get taken to the pound. And maybe they ran away from home, or maybe they're just feral. They're found on the street and then they get taken to the pound. So they get taken to, so the pound of this place. So the pound has a lot of dogs. And there is another word, AR something. This might be hard. This is basically another word for like bark. Like we say that dogs bark, right? But they're more like yip yip yip, or like woof, right? We might say they woof. That's one example, right? Or maybe the little ones might yip. And then there's another one. This might be tricky. Another word a dog might make. Ugh. The big dogs might woof. Small dogs might yip. And we might say that they arf as well. Like arf, 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 if that makes sense. So I think that's what that sound is. So they arf. That is our pound sound. Growl. Yeah, growl too may potentially be a growl. Growl, to growl. So we might say grr, like the sound grr for a growl. Terrible. Anyways. Yeah, what else are we gonna hear? We're not gonna get these. Disagreeable. What is this? This one is coup d'etat. I don't 100% know what that is though. What is that? It's like a military thing. Group d'etat. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. Sudden defeat of a government through illegal force by a small group, often a military one. That one's that one. If we discover something, there's sort of a word that, there's sort of a phrase we might say. If you have this light bulb moment, you would say this it's like an exclamation. You'd say this. If you suddenly discovered something, or figured something else, or you figure something out, you solved a problem. This is a bad one today. Tricky one. Yeah, this one's gonna be aha! You would say aha! You would have an aha moment. Aha! That's it. Alright. And I think this one is a little bit tricky. This disagreeable. So if you're disagreeable, you argue. You're argumentative. Another way we might say being as like you are someone who wants to argue or fight a lot. So if you're disagreeable, you get upset easily, you want to fight with everybody. And this is gonna be, this word is like something. Why? This is gonna be an adverb, I think. No, I guess it's an adjective. This word, though, kind of also gets used to describe almost like a monster or something, or a really big, terrible animal. Does that make sense? So the root word describes maybe a monster or a large, dangerous animal, maybe. And then we would use this word, we could use this word to describe somebody who's just unkind, really unpleasant. See if we can. Tricky. A word that would describe a monster. Yeah, it's gonna be beastly. So if you're beastly, you're very, like, very unkind, very unpleasant. Not really part of, it's not a word I would use, but you could definitely use it. So here's like an example. Why are you being so beastly to me? Like, why are you being so nasty to me, basically? Or you could use it to describe the weather as well, maybe, apparently. So we've had beastly weather all summer, so the weather's been really terrible. Yeah, so that's kind of an interesting word. And then I don't know. The rest of this, fielder's activity. Is it an adjective? Yes, this is an adjective. Yeah, I know it looks like an adverb. It's an adjective, though. Yes. Adjective. Yeah, here we can see the weather is beastly. Why are you beastly? Yeah. Adjective. I know, I think I thought it was an adverb, but it's not. Ugh. Yeah, and the rest of this, I don't know. Catching. Actually, I have kind of a guess what this might be, but I don't know. Do you have a guess what this might be? This CATSHIN. G something FL something. Actually, I think I know what it might be. I think this word is another word for insect. I think that's what it is, but I don't... What if... Oh, I think this is a baseball reference. Shh. Okay. I see. I think this is a type of insect, though. Yeah. So this word is a type of insect. Yeah, so this is flies, and I'll explain it in a second. Oh. Well, wait, F-L-I-E. I don't know what we got wrong. Anyways, F-L-I-E-S. Yeah, that's right. Did we miss one? Yeah, so, a fly ball is a ball in baseball that goes way out, deep into the field. Way out. And a fielder is somebody who plays in that position. Like, they're out in, like, the deep field, or whatever they call it. They're the ones that are catching those balls that go way out. So I think that's what this is, this fly ball. Anyways. Great job. Oh, here we go. I found it. Teary. I put the wrong word in there. Alright, cool. Yeah. So great job. Great job. Thanks a lot for your help. I really appreciate it. Maybe I'll look at Monday and Tuesday's crossword for tomorrow. Maybe it will be a bit easier and the language will be a little bit better. So I will look at them later today or early tomorrow. I'll pick one which is due tomorrow. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I didn't understand this either. I was like, because, like, what is a fielder, right? Originally, I thought this was maybe watching birds, but Hollis isn't anything. But yeah, it's a baseball reference, a tricky baseball reference. Anyways, yeah, catching flies, catching fly balls, basically what they mean. Ugh, anyways. Thanks for playing. I'll be back tomorrow at this time for another crossword. Yeah, I'll look at the ones early in the week and see if they're a little bit better. So we can do some easier questions, maybe. Anyways, yeah, so thanks again. And I hope you have a really good rest of your day. On Sunday, I'm planning on doing an article reading, so I have the next article in my series. So I'm going to be going through it. I'm going to be checking out the vocabulary phrases. You'll be able to hear the pronunciation of words and things like that. So that's what I'm going to be doing on Sunday. But tomorrow I'm going to be back for more crossword. So you're more than welcome to join me for that. And yeah. And it's okay, I'm learning and it's worth watching. But as you would like. Yeah. Well, I'll just go back maybe and get see what the crossword was like on Monday and Tuesday. So usually they're easier at the beginning of the week. They get hard on Friday and Saturday. So I think that's why this one was so tricky. Alright, anyways. Have a really great day then. Alright? And I will see you super soon. Okay, bye.